Peppa's house always seemed like a safe place, but nobody knew what dark secrets were hidden here. The family returns home after a long vacation. Heavy suitcases bang loudly on the porch steps. Daddy Pig opens the door with his key. The lock creaks strangely and ominously in the silence. Peppa runs inside, oinking happily with joy. Her bright smile quickly disappears from her face. Things in the living room are out of place. Someone was definitely here during their absence. Mummy Pig notices wet footprints on the floor. They lead from the front door to the stairs. George clutches Mr. Dinosaur tightly to his chest. The little one senses danger in the house. Daddy turns on the lights, but bulbs flicker. Electricity creates eerie shadows dancing on walls. Strange sounds come from the bathroom upstairs. Someone is splashing in the water above them. The family slowly climbs the creaking stairs. Each step groans ominously under their feet. The sounds become louder and much stranger. This is definitely not ordinary bathing. Peppa carefully opens the bathroom door. Inside glows dim reddish light from flickering candles. In the bathtub sits a creature with coral red fur, huge glowing eyes and a terrifying smile. Labubu slowly turns his head toward the family. Sharp teeth glisten in the flickering candlelight. The creature begins to giggle quietly. Sound echoes throughout the entire house eerily. The water in the tub turns dark and murky. Labubu smiles without taking his eyes off them. Daddy tries desperately to close the door. The handle burns his hand with icy cold. Labubu rises from the bathtub very slowly. He takes a deliberate step toward the exit. The family steps back in terror. The corridor seems infinitely long and endless now. Candles go out one by one mysteriously. The house plunges into complete and total darkness. In the darkness, only soft giggling is heard. Labubu is nearby, but completely invisible. Light returns suddenly. Family finds themselves in living room. Everything looks normal and peaceful again. On the table lies a mysterious note. Welcome home. The strange handwriting frightens everyone deeply. Peppa looks up and sees wet marks. Labubu is still somewhere in the house. The family no longer feels safe at home. Every night they hear giggling from the bathroom. Peppa's house had always been a place of warmth, safety, and laughter. Familiar smells, cozy corners, and gentle voices filled each room. But today, something changed, and it would never be the same again. It began quietly, a strange shadow gliding across the nursery wall without a source. The room, once filled with toys and joy, suddenly felt colder. A sinister presence had entered the house, invisible but undeniable. Peppa was the first to notice it. While playing, she found a small gray toy she'd never seen before. It had a round head, strange fluffy limbs, and a smile far too wide. Its pale white eyes gleamed unnaturally. Labubu. He stared at her from the shelf with a grin that seemed to move on its own. Then he whispered something. Soft, distant words like wind behind a closed door. Peppa didn't understand, but she felt compelled. She picked him up. The moment she held Labubu, the air changed. Dark magic stirred, subtle at first, like an itch in the back of the mind. George entered the room cheerfully, but as soon as he saw Peppa and the toy, his face twisted. His innocent expression turned sharp, eyes narrowing with something cruel. Downstairs, Mummy Pig called them for dinner, but her voice, it sounded colder, flatter, empty. At the table, the family sat in eerie silence. Plates clinked, forks scraped. No one looked anyone in the eye. Daddy Pig suddenly glanced at Mummy with pure hatred, something sharp and ugly behind his stare. Peppa clutched Labubu tighter. The toy seemed to pulse in her hands, feeding off the silence, the tension, the cracks in their love. George reached out and yanked Labubu from her. Peppa screamed. Not in fear, but in fury. Her eyes burned with rage. Mummy and Daddy did nothing. They just stared at their plates, silently hating each other. That evening, Granny and Grandpa Pig arrived for a visit, but the moment they stepped inside, they felt it. The air was thick with something dark, something wrong. Susie Sheep came to play with Peppa, but the girls began arguing almost immediately. Accusations, shouts, cold stares. Rebecca Rabbit joined them, but the tension only grew. Everyone watched each other with suspicion, as if waiting to be betrayed. At school, Madame Gazelle noticed the shift. The children were quieter, angrier. Pedro tried to befriend George, but they ended up fighting. Back home, Labubu sat silently on the shelf, watching, feeding. His smile grew, curving unnaturally. That night, the family dined again in silence. Thoughts of old arguments, jealousy, guilt. They consumed every member. No laughter, no warmth. In the darkness of the nursery, Labubu glowed softly. The magic had grown strong. Peppa awoke and saw the toy move on its own. Instead of fear, she felt a strange calmness, a sense of surrender. Morning came. The family gathered in the kitchen. But this time, no one spoke. Each face was hard, eyes full of hatred. The house was silent, not peaceful, but ominous. A silence that screamed. And Labubu was gone. He had vanished, leaving behind nothing but ruin. Peppa searched everywhere for the toy. Under beds, in closets, in drawers. But Labubu had disappeared without a trace. The spell was complete. The warmth that once lived in their home was gone forever. And far away in another quiet house, Labubu waited, ready to smile again, ready for a new family to break. Peppa Pig's house always seemed peaceful at night, but something sinister watched from the darkness outside. George lay in his bed, clutching Mr. Dinosaur tightly. A terrifying shadow appeared at his bedroom window. The green figure waved slowly at frightened George. Evil Shrek smiled with glowing red eyes menacingly. George trembled under his warm blanket covers. The monster gestured for him to come outside. Night after night, Shrek returned faithfully watching. George watched in terror from his bed. George ran to Peppa's room, crying desperately. She rolled her eyes at his silly stories. At breakfast, George told his worried parents. Daddy Pig laughed at the wild imagination. Mummy Pig patted George's head, gently smiling. Everyone thought he was just dreaming nightmares. Peppa teased George about his imaginary monster. She called him a silly little brother. Grandpa Pig visited for Sunday dinner together. George begged him to believe the truth. Even wise Grandpa shook his head sadly. Nobody took George's warnings seriously anymore. The waving continued every single dark night. Shrek's smile grew wider each time. George stopped telling anyone about the visits. Fear consumed his tiny pig heart completely. Dark circles appeared under George's tired eyes. He barely slept or ate anymore. Peppa noticed George acting very strange lately, but she ignored his frightened behavior completely. One stormy night, Shrek beckoned more urgently. His red eyes burned brighter than ever before. George felt an invisible force pulling him. He walked toward the bedroom window slowly. The window opened by itself, mysteriously wide. Cold wind rushed into the room violently. George climbed onto the windowsill very slowly. Shrek's hand reached out for him eagerly. Morning came, but George wasn't in bed. His bed remained empty and cold forever. Peppa found Mr. Dinosaur abandoned on floor. The toy pointed toward the open window. The family searched everywhere, desperately calling his name. But George had vanished without trace. Police found only muddy footprints outside house. They led into the dark forest depths. The house fell silent without little George. His empty chair haunted every meal sadly. Sometimes at night, Peppa hears strange sounds, someone waving at her bedroom window now. Peppa Pig's house always seemed like a safe place, but nobody suspected what dark secrets the circus would bring. A mysterious circus arrived in the peaceful town. All residents eagerly awaited the magical performance. The main tent displayed the director's colorful sign. Evil Shrek smiled menacingly from all the posters. Peppa's family bought tickets for the evening show. Daddy Pig was especially excited about the performance. The circus arena sparkled with bright, colorful lights. Spectators filled every seat in anticipation. Evil Shrek emerged as the charismatic ringmaster. His voice sounded mesmerizing and deeply hypnotic. Acrobats flew gracefully under the dome like birds. Clowns entertained the audience with magical tricks. Trained animals performed complex and amazing numbers. Spectators applauded every performance with great enthusiasm. After the show, families slowly went home. Everyone looked strangely calm and emotionless. The next day, some neighbors didn't come out. Their windows remained dark throughout the day. Peppa noticed the rabbit family had vanished completely. Their house stood empty and abandoned. The circus announced a new evening performance. Remaining residents bought tickets again with enthusiasm. The second show was even more mesmerizing. Evil Shrek hypnotized viewers with his glowing red eyes. After the second show, more families disappeared. The sheep and zebra houses emptied forever. Peppa tried desperately to warn her parents, but adults wouldn't listen to her words. The third performance gathered the last remaining residents. Evil Shrek looked triumphantly at the audience. During the show, spectators fell into deep trances. Their eyes became empty and lifeless. After the third show, the town completely emptied. Only the circus continued glowing with lights. Evil Shrek stood alone in the middle of arena. His evil smile illuminated the tent. The circus packed up and moved to another town. Evil Shrek searched for new audiences. In empty houses, only children's toys remained behind. Wind wandered through the deserted streets. Evil Shrek's circus continues traveling between different towns. He always seeks new audiences for shows. If you see bright circus posters with his name, better not buy tickets for the performance. Regular day at nursery began as usual. Madame Gazelle greeted children with a familiar smile. But something was wrong. Madame Gazelle's eyes strangely gleamed, and smiles seemed too wide. Peppa noticed teacher whispering something incomprehensible when thinking nobody could hear. New toy appeared on table. Dark red labubu with burning red eyes watched children. Madame Gazelle said this was special toy. She called it Great Labubu and asked children to bow. Children laughed, thinking it was game, but Madame Gazelle was serious as never before. During lesson, teacher told strange stories about ancient gods requiring sacrifices. George got scared and cried. Madame Gazelle sternly said, "Tears offend Great Labubu." At lunchtime, Madame Gazelle placed toy in center of table and lit candles around it. She forced children to repeat incomprehensible words in unknown language. Labubu seemed pleased. After lunch, Madame Gazelle locked all doors and windows. She said time for special lesson came. Labubu's red eyes glowed brighter. Toy began growing, becoming child-sized. Madame Gazelle explained she served Great Labubu for many years. Children are his favorite food. Peppa tried running away, but doors were locked. Windows wouldn't open either. Madame Gazelle began reading incantations. Labubu grew bigger, his eyes burning like fire. Children realized their teacher went insane. She was preparing them as sacrifice to demonic being. Susie tried calling Mummy, but phone didn't work. Madame Gazelle planned everything. Labubu spoke with voice from underworld. He demanded children's souls be brought to him. Madame Gazelle tied children with ropes. She sang strange songs in ancient language. Labubu became enormous, filling half classroom. His red eyes blazed with hunger. Madame Gazelle raised knife, preparing to begin ritual. Children screamed, but nobody heard. Suddenly, parents burst into classroom, but it was too late. Ritual had begun. Demon turned to children. Now they had to serve him and find new victims. The park had always been Peppa's family's favorite place, green and safe. But no one suspected what dark secrets the new cleaner was hiding behind his friendly appearance. Sunny morning in the town, Peppa's family decides to go to the park for fun. Peppa runs excitedly to the swings. George drags his beloved Mr. Dinosaur behind him. Mummy and Daddy Pig sit comfortably on the bench. Everything looks perfectly normal and peaceful. Suddenly, a large green figure with a broom appears. The new park cleaner arrives mysteriously. Shrek slowly sweeps the paths with care. His red eyes watch everyone carefully and suspiciously. Children play happily, not noticing the strange stare. Parents read their newspapers quietly. Shrek approaches closer to the playground area. Leaves turn black under his heavy feet. Peppa swings higher and higher joyfully. George builds elaborate sand castles with concentration. The cleaner begins sweeping around the sandbox. Sand becomes dark and sticky mysteriously. George tries to take sand, but hands stick firmly. He cannot break free at all. Peppa calls loudly for parents to help. Mummy and Daddy run over quickly. Shrek continues sweeping very calmly. His sinister smile grows wider and wider. Parents try desperately to help George. The sand holds him tighter than before. Other children in park stick to toys. Nobody can leave this place anymore. Shrek sweeps much faster now. The entire park covers with dark, magical dust. Families try frantically to leave. The gates are locked by invisible supernatural force. The cleaner laughs with frightening sound. His broom glows with eerie green light. Peppa finally understands the real danger. She tries desperately to warn everyone around. Shrek approaches each family slowly. All children become strangely quiet and obedient. Parents don't notice the changes. They think children are simply tired from playing. Sun sets slowly. Nobody leaves. They all stay in park forever and ever. Shrek disappears into dark shadows. The park looks perfectly clean and innocent again. New unsuspecting families arrive tomorrow. They don't know about the terrible danger waiting. Shrek appears again with his broom ready. The horrifying cycle of terror continues endlessly forever.